Hello and welcome to Global Eye. I'm Parikshit Luthra. The United States and Britain launched airstrikes in Yemen, targeting Houthi rebels who have been disrupting shipping routes in the Red Sea. This is the first known strike against the Iran-backed Houthi militants inside Yemen. US President Joe Biden has warned of further action if necessary, while the United Kingdom has said that the attacks were an act of self-defense, calling the attack barbaric. The Houthis have pledged retaliation. The group's officials have also said that they will continue to target ships heading towards Israel. Joining us now to take this discussion forward is Navtej Sarna, former Indian ambassador to the United States, to the UK and Israel. Ambassador Sarna, thank you very much for being with us on Global Eye. Let me begin by asking you, is this a significant shift in Western policy towards the crisis in the Middle East, towards the Houthis, almost saying that a red line has now been crossed?
Well, thank you, Parikshit. I wouldn't call it a sudden shift, but it is certainly a notch more in this creep towards escalation that we have been fearing and watching in the last few weeks and 3 months. It's not that the US has not struck its enemies before in the Middle East, and it's also not that the United States personnel have not been struck since October. There is a figure which says 115 American personnel have been targeted in different countries by adversaries of the United States since October 7th and what followed in Gaza. But definitely, this is a major, it's a major development in which the United States, the UK, and which has been supported by several West European countries in particular, and Australia, have said, have actually demonstrated that they are willing to militarily get involved in the Middle East again. And President Biden's statement, as you yourself noted, leaves it open-ended, saying that more could follow. So yes, we are at the edge, I would say, of escalation of what was so far restricted to Gaza.
We're on the edge of escalation is what you're saying. Ambassador Sarna, some experts and even in the US are saying that this is exactly the kind of provocation that the Houthis and some in Iran were looking for. Would you agree?
Well, certainly, I don't know if they were looking for this, because so far Iran and its proxies, or more through its proxies, has been active, both through Hezbollah in a limited way, through the Houthis in the Red Sea, and through Iranian-supported proxies in Iraq and Syria. At the same time, I think there has been a certain amount of restraint, because nobody really seems to be interested in taking on the might of the US. At the same time, they have been making, sending messages, using the events in Gaza, using the humanitarian disaster and civilian deaths in Gaza as a kind of a platform to come together with all their particular problems with the United States and their enmities with the United States. Unfortunately, the United States itself has not focused enough, or has been unable or unwilling to call and get a ceasefire in Gaza, and thereby providing this opportunity to a large number of proxies to sort of push with what have been, in strategic terms, would be relative pinpricks. Of course, the Houthis have been very active in the Red Sea, and a lot of global trade, which passes through Bab al-Mandab, has been affected. So at the same time, the United States is not very keen. The previous history of United States military intervention in Middle East has not been very encouraging, even under the cover of a coalition like the present case. So in an election year, the United States itself is not very keen. However, at the same time, neither has the United States done much to go for the root cause and get a ceasefire in Gaza.
Right. Ambassador Sarna, how do you think Iran is going to respond to the latest round of strikes? And do you feel that because this was a coalition of countries, not just United States, but a coalition of countries acting, this may restrain Iran from acting, or maybe restrain the Houthis also from reacting in any way?
Well, I think the strikes, from what one reads, are very targeted, in the sense they are targeted to degrade the capability of the Houthis to do what they have been doing for the last couple of months. They've been attacked on the command control centers, on their coastline radars, etc. So you might see an actual degradation of the Houthi ability to target commercial shipping in the Red Sea. But I don't think this is going to deter the Houthis as a group, or in its rhetoric or its ambition. In fact, this will raise the profile of the Houthis. And there have been, there has been widespread criticism in certain areas about the strikes, of course, expectedly from Iran, but also other Arab countries like Oman and Jordan. The Saudis have been a bit circumspect because their own negotiations with the Houthis suddenly come into danger. Their sort of cold peace with Iran gets into danger. So, there are several fault lines there which could open up if this escalates.
Right. Ambassador Sarna, India was already under pressure to take sides as a result of the Ukraine-Russia war. Now, with what is happening against the Houthis in Yemen, what's happening in the Red Sea, between Israel and Hamas, what do you think the West and these countries which are acting together would expect from India?
I don't think it's a question of what these countries expect from India. Of course, there will be an expectation from every side that India should be supporting them. But I think Indian foreign policy is mature enough to act in its own national interests. And I haven't actually seen a statement today. Perhaps you have. But so we will see what they have to say.
Right. Now, in terms of the threats to India, of course, one is energy sector volatility, energy prices going up, your maritime supply chain routes being impacted, container prices going up, insurance costs going up. But at the bottom of it all, how do we get impacted from a security point of view? In the last 1 month, there have been hijacking attempts, there have been drone strikes on merchant ships which were carrying a large number of Indian crew. What do you think is the larger message in all of this for India?
Well, listen, no kind of instability, particularly in West Asia and the Gulf, can leave us unimpacted. We have a huge population of Indian origin there. The figure, every time you look at it, has increased. It could be 7 million, 8 million, or possibly more. We are involved in a tremendous amount of Indian Ocean trade. Bab al-Mandab, which is directly affected, the Straits of Bab al-Mandab carry about 15% of global trade. And a lot of it will pass through India or be heading towards India or going from India. So naturally, the costs and all that will go up. Besides that, the entire Arabian Sea, Indian Ocean region, which is a place where the Indian naval presence is significant, is strong, and has played an important role in maintaining security, anti-piracy, etc., becomes a volatile region. And none of this ultimately is good for us. And that is why, stability in the Middle East is crucial. Besides, of course, each of our bilateral relationships, whether it is with Iran, whether it is with UAE, whether it is with Israel, and whether it is with Saudi Arabia, not remain unimpacted.
Yeah, Ambassador Sarna, because we're running out of time, I'd like to put in one quick question. Finally, because of what has happened last night with the attack on Houthi targets in Yemen, do you think this could lead to a war in the region, an all-out conflict?
No, this is what I'm saying. It's one more step towards an escalation. There are several other issues. For instance, the Israel-Hezbollah face-off is now reaching a really precipitous sort of situation. Benny Gantz, the Israeli minister and co-ruler with Bibi, has said that the time for diplomacy is running out. There have been other strikes, both in Iraq and Syria, etc., which could flame up. And the Houthi thing is just, has been there, but now it will be a bigger flashpoint. So if you put together all these things, it will all depend upon how the United States follows up on this, on how quickly we can bring down the temperature in Gaza and get down to humanitarian assistance and possibly the opening of a dialogue, all still very far away, I'm afraid, from what it looks like, but we have to move towards that. Instead of that, what we are moving towards is an upticking in the violence, an upticking in the military role of the United States and the West, and which is unfortunate.
Okay, so clearly what has happened last night is putting us on the edge. Thank you very much, Ambassador Sarna, for joining us. We've run out of time. It was great talking to you and hearing your perspective on what's happening in the Middle East, in the Red Sea, and the attack on Houthi targets in Yemen. We're heading into a short break here on Global Eye, but coming up, the other big global story, USTR Catherine Tai is visiting India to discuss key trade and investment issues with her counterpart, Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal. What's on the agenda? A special discussion with Mukesh Aghi, the President and Chief Executive Officer of the US-India Strategic Partnership Forum. Don't go anywhere, that's coming up.